Maryland is entering an energy crisis, and less than half of the class is aware. Energy crisis means that prices are going to be going up and brownouts are going to be common, and this is because of a failing electric grid and not enough money putting towards the electric grids in the Maryland state budget. Now, I mentioned the word brownout, so what is a brownout? Well, a brownout is similar to a blackout. A blackout is when you have zero power, zero electricity, no outlets, no lights, no nothing. But a brownout means you have about 10 to 15% of that energy, which means if you have a light that dims, it'll be about 10 to 15% of regular light. And that also means that if you have big machines that need to be powered, you won't be able to power it because you don't have enough energy. And this is still going to be with these increase in the energy bills. The increase is going to be extremely dramatic, and it's going to be starting as soon as the summer of 2026, which is this summer. So what can we do to combat this? Well, the energy crisis is mainly because of the electric grid failing, which is mainly run on unrenewable energy, which comes from things like fossil fuels, the oil, and the gas industry. But there's another slowly growing type of energy, and it's green energy, which is also known as renewable energy. There's three main types of renewable energy, which are going to be wind, hydroelectric, and solar energy. And solar energy is the main one that we're going to be focusing on today, because solar panels can be put on top of parking lots. Now, what are the benefits of solar panels being on top of parking lots? Well, it means that parking lots are going to be covered. It allows for EV charging, and it's extremely cost effective. Solar panels on parking lots have been proven time and time again to be win all the way around. So covered parking lots. If you're parking somewhere, would you rather park in a parking garage or out in the open? Well, most people would say they'd rather park in a parking garage. This is because your car is covered. It makes it more safe. It also gives you protection from the elements. The last thing you want when you're walking out of a Target is all of a sudden it starts pouring. You've got to walk to your car at the very back of the parking lot, and it's just a hassle. Everything's going to get soaked, but a covered parking lot would prevent this. It would make it so then the rain hits the solar panels and it doesn't hit you or your car. Protect your car and protects you from having a rainy, bad day. Now, it also protects your car from overheating. If there's solar panels, the solar energy is what you want to be hitting the solar panels, and it also means it's not hitting your car. Protects your car from overheating. Anything in your car would get protected from being super hot, and nobody likes to walk into a hot, stuffy, overheated car. And having solar panels over our parking lots at HCC would prevent this. Now, another thing is EV charging. Now, if we had these solar panels over parking lots at HCC, it would allow us to have EV charging stations that will run completely off of the sun. Now, what is EV charging? EV stands for electric vehicle, and EV charging means that it's charging for electric vehicles. EV charging in a school parking lot would encourage people to drive electric vehicles to school because they could charge it right here at our HCC's campus. It usually takes about 1 to 2 hours for your vehicle to charge, which would be perfect for in between classes, right after class lets out, and would allow you to sit in your car and communicate with your friends while sitting on the campus of your own school, which is also a potential source of revenue for HCC. If everyone's bringing their electric cars to school, and also people can see where EV charging stations on their Google Maps. So if someone's driving all the way from New York, say, down to DC, they could stop in Bel Air, Maryland at Harvard Community College to charge their car and make money for HCC. And all the students could make money for HCC by charging their cars in HCC's parking lot without a cost to HCC, because it's all being funded by the sun. Now, it's also extremely cost effective. IKEA has proved this. IKEA put solar panels over their parking lots in 2018, and they put it right in at Baltimore, Maryland. And the energy bills that they received were insane. It completely surpassed their expectations with an 84% decrease in purchased energy for that IKEA location, which is huge. If we could have that for HCC during this energy crisis, that would mean that HCC's bills would go down significantly, and HCC wouldn't have to worry about brownouts because their energy is coming from the sun, not from an electric grid. Now, to put this in perspective, if we had the electric grid that we had at IKEA, and we put it in our parking lot with the same amount of square foot approximately that our parking lots own, that would be the equivalent from the span of September to January of taking 200 cars off the road, which is also the equivalent to 15,625 trees being planted. Talk about carbon emission decrease, that's perfect. And it's also a source of renewable energy, which means unless it's like a Project Hail Mary situation where there's astrophage and the sun starts dying, the sun is going to be there for another billion years, which means that it's a constant source of renewable energy. The sun's always shining, which means that the solar panels are always collecting energy, which means that the initial deposit that we put down to add the solar panel parking lots into Harvard Community College's campus would be surpassed significantly. Now, it's also effective land usage. As we know, this is Harvard Community College, which is in Harford County, which means that there's a lot of rural area and farms. Well, the farmers have been upset recently because we've been using fertile land for solar farms, which is land that they could be using for their farms, their cattle, and that really aggravates the agricultural sector because that's land that they could be using to make their income to pay for their electric bills during these brownouts. But if we're putting them over solar panels over parking lots, that's already developed land, which means that we're not developing any more land and we're not taking any land away from the farmers, which means it's a win-win situation. I encourage you to message the HEC Chief Communications Office at ndysard@harvard.edu to join the next meeting and encourages the Board of Trustees to implement these measures and more in HCC in the future, and I will link that email in the bio.